We cut it, color it, and style it to express who we are. Across every culture, human hair carries immense personal and stylistic weight. On a single scalp, there are roughly 100,000 individual strands. Collectively, they form one of the fastest-growing tissues in the human body. Yet, despite that constant growth, our daily experience with hair is often defined by its fragility. We regularly face shedding, frequent split ends, and a variety of scalp irritations. To understand why these issues happen, we have to look past the visible strand. We need to examine the active, living biological system that builds the hair from the inside out. This diagram shows the anatomy of the scalp. If we travel past the outermost layer of skin, the epidermis, we enter a much thicker, highly active middle layer known as the dermis. Embedded deep within the dermis is the hair follicle. You can think of it as a microscopic biological tube housing the machinery that builds every single strand on your head. At the very base of this tube sits the dermal papilla. This is a dense nest of blood vessels responsible for delivering the oxygen and nutrients necessary to fuel the entire growth process. Directly above that blood supply is a biological factory. Here, specialized cells rapidly duplicate, pushing upward and stacking on top of one another. As they are pushed away from their nutrient source, these living cells die and harden into a tough protein called keratin. This compacted column of dead keratin cells is the visible hair strand that emerges from your scalp. Every inch of hair we style on the surface relies entirely on the continuous operation of this internal vascular engine beneath the skin. That biological factory does not run uninterrupted. This timeline graphic maps out the strict three-part growth cycle that governs every follicle on your head. Phase 1 is Anagen. This is the active period where the hair is firmly rooted to the blood supply and grows steadily for several years. Phase 2 is Catagen. In this brief transition, the blood vessels withdraw, the base of the follicle shrinks, cutting the strand off from its nutrient supply. Phase 3 is Telogen. The detached, dead hair rests in place until the follicle wakes back up, and newly forming hair begins to grow at the base, acting as a physical wedge to push the old hair out. Finding hair in your brush is usually just evidence of this final stage. It's the necessary renewal process, making room for fresh growth. But when the delicate balance of this environment is disrupted, the resulting damage becomes visible on the surface very quickly. Scalp dryness happens when the skin loses its natural oil, known as sebum. Without that protective barrier, the skin loses moisture and cracks, forming inflamed microfissures that shed dry, tiny flakes. This flowchart illustrates the opposite problem: dandruff. It starts with an overproduction of sebum. The excess oil traps a naturally occurring fungus called malassezia against the scalp, triggering irritation and causing skin cells to shed in large, oily clumps. Whether the result is a feeling of tightness or oily flakes, these surface symptoms indicate that the scalp's biological balance has been compromised. Restoring balance to your scalp requires a dual approach. You have to supply the internal machinery while protecting the external environment. Internally, the dermal papilla requires specific fuel to build keratin. A diet lacking in lean proteins, healthy fats, zinc, or biotin can slow down the biofactory, resulting in thinner, weaker strands. Externally, the surface needs gentle maintenance. That means using cleansers that remove dirt without stripping away protective sebum and limiting the intense heat styling that can damage the hair's structure. Resilient hair is the result of this two-part process. When internal nourishment meets a protected external environment, follicles function at their full potential.